What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sub 2 Club. Today we have Bailey Woods with this beautiful E36. It's one of the cleanest car I've seen, cleanest track car I've seen. Looks like a show car almost. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
How did you get into like driving on tracks?
Well, growing up, I was, enjoyed watching races, and my parents used to take me to like Indy races and stuff like that.
Nice.
So, I think having a couple nice cars in the driveway growing up and going to races just kind of sets the pace pretty young. But grew up on dirt bikes. So
Sorry to stop you.
Yeah.
What kind of cars? Your dad, I'm assuming, or mom?
Yeah. So my dad used to collect cars way back in the day. So before they got out of control, like. Gold wings and stuff like that, Testarossa.
Wow.
So, different level. So, doesn't do that anymore. But growing up, that was kind of the tone that he set, and put me in go-karts and dirt bikes. And
Nice.
So I think just always seeing something with motor and wheels in the driveway kind of pushed me in this direction. But
makes total sense. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think racing, growing up on dirt bikes definitely pushes a lot of people. And started in my early 20s doing sport bike racing, and then obviously with age comes cage, so you move to four wheels. And I like cars and bikes, but cars have always been kind of the go-to.
Yeah. Did you always have an E36 growing up?
No, actually my first car when I was 15 was a super base model 325. And I didn't like the car. But it was a lot of fun to drive. It just I was into the JDM scene. So.
Oh, okay. What other cars have you
had? My first project car that I went overboard on was an STI.
Oh, yeah.
So did that for a long time, and I think after you own a Subaru for a few years, you get a little sick of it, and after that, I think I went straight to BMW, and I've had quite a few BMWs ever since.
Gotcha. What other chassis have you tried?
I've had an E46, an E90, an E92. A couple E30s and this E36.
Okay, and obviously your favorite is the E36 then?
E36 is my favorite. E46, they all kind of offer something special. The E30 is not like the prettiest car in the world. Like, obviously I enjoy the car a lot, but that's a really fun car to drive. And, I did spec E30 last year, and
oh, nice.
Always enjoy the E30s, but E30 M3s are a little unattainable. And they're also a little bit limited with, power and suspension and things like that. Even though they're a blast to drive, you could be driving a little bit slower and still be enjoying it. But E46 I think is a little bit better platform than the E36, but the E36 offers a few things the E46 doesn't. So.
Gotcha. Do you have a dream car?
Dream car.
Take your time, think about it.
I think just to throw one out to keep it BMW, I'd probably do like a E46 GTR.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, what was your first track day like? Why did you look for a track day, and then how did you first start?
I'd been trying to build a time attack car for a long time, and I was looking to buy a car. I was looking at E36s and E46s, and the E36 was quite a bit cheaper at the time. And the other thing the E36 offered was it's not as fast. And so I think that if you're trying to become a fast driver, it's probably better to start in something that's slow, so you have to build up to it and learn how to make speed out of something that's not very fast.
Agreed.
And that's why when I got in this car, pretty much everything I did was all chassis and suspension, just trying to get the car as capable as possible with, me having to pull it out of the car and not necessarily just being able to like hammer it on the straightaways,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I pushed towards this car, is just because the price was good. I thought it was a good place to start, and there was a lot of potential in the car to work up to something a little bit faster.
Okay. When did you purchase this car, and how long did it take you to do it?
Purchased this car maybe like a little over 4 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe closer towards 5.
Yeah.
And then I put it in my garage, didn't touch it for 6 months. I bought it from a guy up in LA. It had, I think like 86,000 miles on it, and it just parked in my garage, and I was busy working at the time, and eventually I took it in for its first round of mods, and I just did all maintenance and things like the oil nut and subframe reinforcement and cooling system and stuff like that. And then the next round was all the suspension and brakes, and then I kept it there for a little bit.
So what is your favorite track and why?
I think that kind of changes you know, every year it's
I
a
agree.
different track,
Yeah,
and you know, every once in a while you go to a track and you're like, oh wow, this is a good track, and other times you go to a track and you're like, God, I hate this track, you know. So, kind of my go-to answer is Chuckwalla. I think Chuckwalla's a really good track.
Wow, that's the first time someone's saying Chuckwalla.
I know, and no one likes it.
That's my favorite track
Yeah,
too.
I've learned a lot from driving at Chuckwalla, and I think it implemented a lot of good driver traits.
Yeah. Smooth flowing.
Smooth flowing and kind of setting up for turns in advance.
Yeah.
You know, you have to set up for a turn a couple turns away, because if you don't hit the first one right, it, you know, it screws the next two.
Right.
Other thing that track taught me a lot was how important getting on power early is. And so I kind of learned a lot there, and when I carry that over into other tracks, I think it improved me quite a bit.
Good.
I think kind of everyone always says Sonoma or Laguna Seca, and I do love Laguna Seca, and Sonoma's a lot of fun too, but if we keep it local, I'll just say Chuckwalla to change it up.
Cool. You didn't even mention buttonwillow.
That's because everyone says buttonwillow, you know, and it's kind of like the gold standard, you know, like, you know, even this whole content sub 2 club is, you know, directly buttonwillow. And, you know, if you meet someone new at the track and they're competitive or whatever, you know, like, oh, what's your CW13 time?
Right.
So I think it's too easy to say buttonwillow, and, you know, I think we go there so frequently, it's not as special. Chuckwalla I don't get to make it out to as much, and no one else goes out there, so, you know, I think it makes it a little bit more special when you don't get to go as often.
Since you mentioned PB and buttonwillow, what is your current PB at buttonwillow with this thing?
Current PB is a 153.3.
Fast.
Yeah, so the car's changed a little bit. Still the same power, but the chassis improved and it's a tiny bit lighter. So hopefully coming up in the wintertime, I'm in the 52s.
Wow, that's fast. All right, let's get into the car. All right, Bailey, what are we looking at?
Looking at a 1999 E36 BMW M3, and it's my product car.
This thing is so clean, so clean. Has it been repainted?
It has. So
Okay.
usually, I think once a year you need to have the front end resprayed because it gets pretty beat up. And you know, I think a lot of people vinyl their cars, or you know, they put on that protective film, but it's a little bit too much weight for me. So you know, I try and just keep it clean this way.
So you paint it every year, pretty much?
Every year I'll do, you know, front bumper, front valence, hood, and fenders, and
Gotcha.
that's usually the only thing that gets beat up. But
Wow. So let's start with the front end. You got what do you got going?
so these are the Ellie Motorsports carbon headlight blanks.
Okay.
So basically, you know, I talked about the chassis being a pretty significant component of how I was kind of trying to develop the car. Another aspect of the chassis is weight reduction, and that's probably my biggest go-to. And I think if you ask any of the people that I hit the track with, you know, I'm the biggest advocate about removing weight and trying to get this car as light as possible. So Ellie Motorsport made the carbon fiber headlight blanks, have the Bimmer World dry carbon hood, and other than that, the front end's pretty basic. I removed the front bumper beam, and Riley up in Sacramento, he built me some custom bumper mounts to try and take out as much weight as possible, you know, off the front axle. And other than that, the front end stock, you know, everything under that's, you know, suspension, bushings, and brakes and whatever. But the car's, you know, from the outside is pretty stock.
Okay.
Not much to point out.
Since we talked about the weight, how much does it weigh, and how much power does it make?
So this car, if I am going to go out for a heater and it's on low fuel, without me in the car, it's about 2380.
Wow. Okay.
And I've been working to get it down, and I think there's still a little bit more weight in it that I'm going to try and pull out. But right now it's at 2380. And it's taking a good amount of work to get it down there.
Okay. And power-wise?
It's making 246 wheel and I think 248 torque.
Okay. Wow. That's actually not like terrible.
No, it's not bad at all. I mean, considering it's just intake and then the exhaust manifold and the Bimmer World race exhaust, you know, not too much going on. So
because not a lot of people like the S52, right?
No, I think it's good because, you know, you don't even need to change the oil in these things. Like, you know, other than, you know, topping it off every once in a while because, you know, it leaks. I actually don't have that big of an issue, but yeah, the S52 I think is great, and you know, I think learning how to milk everything you can out of that engine has been pretty beneficial. So I'm leaving it for now. I told myself that I couldn't do an engine swap until I did a 53 at Buttonwillow in the car. But now that I've done that, I actually did that last year.
Nice.
So I'll
That's
swap
fast.
out the engine at the end of the year, and we'll see where that takes it.
Okay, cool. Well, speaking of the engine, let's see the engine.
Cool.
Pop the hood. Pop the hood.
Not much.
Oh. Wow. Okay. So what? Oh, let me hold that for you.
All right.
What have you done in here?
Basically, all that you can really see that's going on here is have a stripped down wiring harness that JMP did for me. I still have the stock S52 manifold. I know a lot of people like to swap out for the M52 for a little bit more power. The stock manifold gives you a little bit more low end torque.
Okay.
And I keep the stock gearing in the car, so right now it's got the 3.2 diff in it.
Oh wow.
And so what I've noticed is if I have a little bit of low down grunt at a lot of the really tight turns, I can just leave in third and get on power a lot earlier, so I don't have to worry about shifting.
Gotcha.
I just kind of dig out of the turns a little bit better, and that's how I like the car's worked pretty well for me, and haven't had any issues, and I don't think it's worth the hassle. So yeah, we have just the AFE intake on it.
Okay.
Other than that, we have the Active AutoWorks race headers and the Bimmer race exhaust, CSF radiator, also expansion tank, and that's really all that's going on here. Other than that, you can see the MCS are sticking out, and you can see I tied in the roll cage that I haven't painted yet. Trying to stiffen up the car as much as possible and get it ready for more power.
Nice, nice.
And other than that, that's basic. Just try to take out weight wherever I could and add a couple of horsepower, and that's about it.
Do you have an oil cooler?
No. S54, and you definitely need to get one, but for the 52, you're fine without it.
I see. Cool, cool. What is this? FUC?
So basically, the car runs on a PDM.
Oh,
and
okay.
What happened is JMP, the way they set it up is they didn't want every single component going through the PDM. Just because if there is some type of issue, you still want the car to be able to start up. So he did a couple things like fuel, and they just kept those on the standard system, but everything else is run by the PDM, and that's why those are just in the corner. So the car, might still work.
Gotcha. And what is that over there?
That's just a block off plate for the HVAC system.
Okay.
So I think the only thing I have poking out is the fire suppression system or those. But yeah, that's it. That's going on here.
Cool. It's beautiful carbon hood.
Yeah, Bimmer makes some really nice stuff. I need to order up their doors and a couple other items. It just takes like 6 months to get, so I never want to put it on an order because I don't want to have that pain of waiting for 6 months.
All right. Cool. Let's get to the suspension parts.
Yeah.
Suspension and brakes.
Cool. So, like I said, the first few things I did to the car was, suspension and brakes. So, went with motion control, two-way, non-remote. I feel like that's the best high-end entry-level suspension you can get. I didn't think that I quite needed three-way yet because I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe at this point it might be a little better because I understand the car better. I understand, how to set up a car a little bit better. But for now they're fine, and I'm not sure if the weight penalty is worth the remote reservoirs. And AP Racing Brakes by Essex run a PFC 11 pad, which is the sprint pad versus their endurance pad.
Nice.
And I've had a pretty good success with that. Titan 7 wheels, 17 by 9.5, and then usually I run the Hoosier A7 on 245 tire.
Okay.
And other than that, all spherical joints and solid bushings and pretty much everything I could do to get it as race spec as possible.
Do you run 245s in the back too?
Yeah, 245
Okay.
square setup,
Okay.
and that helps a lot with trying to keep the tires lasting and whatnot. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I like the square setup. I think it feels pretty good, and I think a lot of people run the square setup on E36. So.
Yeah, yeah. And brakes on the rear?
Stock brakes. I just have a Stop Tech rotor and then the PFC 11 pads.
Nice.
Not too many groups make a rear kit for this.
Uh-huh.
But, I feel like I don't really need it. The car stops really well. Its car's really light.
Yeah.
So I don't think I need huge rotors, and brake upgrades can also be a pretty big weight penalty as well. So I think this combination with the car and its power level is perfect right now. And I don't think I need to change that.
Okay. Just look at the rear. I can't believe how clean this car is.
So Bimmer rolled carbon trunk.
Okay.
Other than that, I have the plastic for performance windows and back, save a little bit more weight. Cut out the rear bumper because when I did the cage work, I got rid of the spare wheel tub.
Okay.
And so there was this huge pocket back there, and it was going to probably create some lift. So I just had to cut the bumper as much as possible to let that pressure out.
Yeah.
So outside of that, the body is all stock, and I think I just kind of had to do that. I thought the bumper was probably going to parachute the car up a little bit.
Can we see the inside the trunk? Or?
Yeah.
Oh wow. It's cleaner than my dinner plate last night.
That's the goal.
How do you keep up with all the dust and stuff?
Daily.
You just clean it daily?
No. So what? Obviously, since you're coming, I gotta clean it. I'll clean it every few events, and depending if I have an off or not, that will determine if I have to clean it. But
jeez,
it gets dirty quick.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think after a few laps, I can already see like tire chunks rolling around in the passenger side footwell. So I think a couple guys tease me about that, but all good.
And then you obviously have a roll cage.
Yeah, Riley really did a nice job when he built this cage. I saw him do another E36 that looked really good, and I reached out to him, and I thought that getting a proper cage was the next step, and he was the man to do it.
Yeah. And with the M3s, you have to tie in the. Oops.
Yeah, definitely helps a lot. It really stiffens up the car when you do that. And that was something that was definitely interesting. I thought that I was gonna have to. The issue is when you put it in the cage, the car gets so stiff, and I already run my suspension super soft because I like the car to be pretty compliant.
Yeah.
I feel like it hooks up pretty well, especially with the car's weight. And so I run my suspension full soft. I don't have anything left in it. So I was nervous putting it in the cage. I wasn't going to have any room to soften up even more. And it haven't worked out well. But, last time I was at Willow Springs was the first time I was out there with the cage in the car. And you can definitely feel like every single crack in that track. So it's something that I'm still getting used to. But the car is definitely faster. And, you can tell that it's more set up. But, maybe one day I'll play with the suspension a little bit more, but it feels pretty solid at the moment.
What would you mind sharing the spring rates?
I think right now I had to go through a few. It took me a lot of time last year to figure out the spring rates. Last year was the first year I took a bunch of weight out of the car and got it, close to the 2,500 pound mark. So I think this was my third set of springs that I tried to get the car a little bit more under control, and it may be 700 and 850.
Okay.
Or 750, 850,
okay.
somewhere around there.
I see. What differential are you using?
So that's the Racing Diffs differential. The cover on it is the Rogue Engineering one.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't know if I quite need that diff cover just because I only do enough laps to put down a time with this car. I don't ever really lap too hard with this car. And so that's potentially something I might change out in the future. But it works great. I really like the Racing Diffs 6-pack clutch that I put in there. It made a huge difference, especially when you're running the sticky Hoosiers,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really good upgrade, and Steve at EAS helped me figure that out because I was trying to do a different route, and he said, I know this doesn't cost much, but this is the proven route, and a lot of guys run it, and I put it in, and yeah, it's awesome.
Mind if I see the inside of the car? You don't have side view mirrors.
No. So something I'm still working on. That was a weight thing as well as an aerodynamic efficiency thing.
Yeah. So for sure.
I'll probably just get some. I forget what they're called, the conical mirrors or whatever that just bolt onto the cage right there.
Yeah.
But as long as I keep my eyes in the rear view, it's not an issue at the moment.
Wow, this beautiful seat, and it's
Yeah. So Simon at Renspec helped me get the seat. He actually posted on a story about a month ago.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I have to have that seat. I think growing up, I was looking at the tuner mags when I was a kid. I would see the cars with the Kevlar backs, and I was like, that's, one day I gotta have that seat. I just had in the fiberglass version of the seat, and when I saw him post this, I was like, I gotta get that. So I went out and grabbed it from him, and I'm pretty happy about it.
I actually saw you. Sorry to stop you. I actually saw you posting the carbon or the fiberglass version.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, should I get it? Should I get it? But
Yeah,
it's sold, right?
Yeah, it's sold pretty quickly. So it's like my favorite seat for me. It fits really well. Yeah, it's the perfect seat for me. So I think seat's pretty important. I think as a driver, being comfortable in the car is pretty important. Every once in a while, hop in someone else's car or for a race or whatever, and just like if I'm uncomfortable, I can't push.
Right.
So I think getting the car suited to what you want is probably the best way to get fast.
Right. Some people are into wheels. I'm into the seats.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Recaro fanboy.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are. So Recaro's always been my brand. I've always, whenever I swapped out seats in cars, I've always gone Recaro, and this happens to be the pinnacle of my Recaro ownership.
Oh yeah, well, lucky you. Yeah. Got the door bars kind of protruding out for you to easily get into the car.
Yeah, Riley did an insane job with this cage. He stitch welded it all across here up in the top and tied the full cage in.
To the frame?
Yeah, and it's pretty rad.
Cool.
He made me these little door handles that are kind of fun.
Oh, wow.
Still have the stock doors. I need to order up some carbon ones. I didn't want to put the carbon ones on until I got the full cage. Probably order those up soon and try and get in a few other carbon items and try and take out some more weight.
Cool. What pedals are those, or the throttle cable? Yeah.
Those are Hard Motorsports products, and then the floor pan is from Ellie as well. I have a lot of Ellie and stuff on my car, and it's all pretty solid stuff.
Okay.
So, probably will eventually swap to like an AP pedal box.
Okay.
And try and rock a dual master setup. Get rid of the booster and stuff, but for now that's doing a pretty good job.
Okay, so that converts the throttle cable to throttle pedal into like a organ style.
Yeah, so that's actually how it's set up factory.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
on this car, on this car, it does start at the bottom like that.
Okay. So that's just billet aluminum.
Yeah. So it's just a full replacement pedal.
Okay.
But it's kind of nice, that has that little blocker on the right side. So when you're going from brake to throttle, it helps you just catch your foot in the right spot. And saves you those precious thousandths of a second.
And the steering shaft.
Yep, so I had Riley do that when I did the cage. Still trying to take out as much weight as possible. And the factory steering column definitely has a few pounds on it. And you don't have a key or anything, ignition, just try and get rid of as much as possible. And it comes with a nice little release there.
Oh, nice.
Then, of course, have to rock the renowned steering wheel. So,
very cool.
And then there's the PDM unit on the trans tunnel. That's what JMP put in the car, and I just basically want to get rid of the factory fuse box. When I tied in the front struts of the roll cage, the factory fuse box was in the way.
Okay.
And I wasn't planning on doing much of a wiring harness when I did the cage, but once the cage was going in, I realized how much just crap was in the car. And so not only did I want to clean it up, but I just wanted something a little different. Wanted to get the AIM screen in there so I can get a little bit more data, and as I've learned data, it's helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the next step to getting faster. But we got the Lifeline fire suppression system. Trying to save my investment if I ever need to. And that's pretty much all we got going on in there, other than the AAF shifter.
Okay.
I know a lot of guys run the CAE, and Jarek is trying to convince me to go the CAE route, but I like this thing, and it's nice to just have a big clunky thing you can slam gears into. Yeah,
it looks heavy duty.
Yeah, it's definitely probably the heaviest thing on the car.
It's a really nice cage.
Yeah, Riley's work is insane, so.
I'm surprised you have a bigger battery. Oh, that's lithium though, right?
Yeah, that battery actually only weighs like 16 pounds, maybe 14 or 16, so it's not too heavy. I know some guys rock the 4-pound batteries and stuff like that, but I've never had an issue with this one, so I'm not going to change it up. Maybe if I am getting pretty hungry for those last few pounds, so maybe that's the next route, but I'm sure I could save 10 pounds there, which would be nice, but the car's definitely a little front end heavy right now. So, I don't know if I want to take out too much more off the front.
I see.
Or I mean, out of the
back.
That's I know it's the middle of the car, but you know, everything counts when
Yeah.
that's the situation.
Gotcha. And this cool little wind deflector, huh?
Yep. So that's another Ellie product, and this is an Ellie product, and also got
Oh, I didn't even notice this. Wow, this is nice.
So no handle on the outside. That's just another ounce here, another ounce there.
And this sunroof.
Yeah, just a little carbon delete.
Oh, okay. Well, the whole thing? No, actually.
No, just
okay.
the sunroof plug. There is a company or a couple companies that make a carbon roof, which is definitely something of interest to me. I think it's 12 pounds off the top of the car. So,
Yeah.
12 pounds isn't a lot, but if you start adding it up,
Yeah. It's just the cost, right?
Yeah. So basically, the last few pounds are the most expensive.
Right.
And so like the seat, one of the things was that it saves 4 pounds. And even though that doesn't sound like much, I'm getting down to the wire where those are the kind of things you have to do to pull out weight.
Cool.
So, things like I need to do a carbon dash, carbon doors, maybe have someone make, I was talking to a group to make a carbon front clip for the car. So it'll be, the bumper, the grills, the headlights and corners. Maybe that'll take another 10 to 15 pounds off the front, which is where I need to get it the most.
For sure. And polyglass as well, right?
It's the 4mm hard poly from Plastic for Performance.
They're so clean.
I know, they have this nice factory finish, and I saw them actually on Andrew Bill Journal's car, and when I saw them I was like, 100% have to have those. I used to have on another brand, and they definitely didn't have anything on these, They're flimsy, and they weren't formed, they're just, like some thin plastic, and these are actually like formed to the proper shape, and they're pretty solid.
And you kept it really clean too. Like these get yellowed and dirty real fast, but
we'll find out.
Yeah.
They're still pretty new. I threw those when I did the cage since everything came out anyways,
Okay.
So usually how I do the car is annually I'll make a big change.
I see.
So basically I spend all season trying to figure out the car, and as soon as I have it figured out, then I'll, change it up. So next year I'll do the engine, so I'll have to figure out how to put the power down with these little tires. But
Gotcha. Are these new moldings too?
Yeah, this is just like a universal.
Oh,
molding.
okay.
So nothing fancy. Just
Okay.
kind of stuck in there and looks all right.
Cool. All right. More tires for for next track events, huh?
Yeah. So these were my first. The BBSs were my first. I love the RIA, and they were silver when I got them, and then I had them ceramic polished, and
Nice.
that didn't last too long for a track car. And those are 18s, and I ran 18s with a 255 200 treadwear for a long time. I've heard a lot of people say the 18s are faster, some people say the 17s are faster, but I thought I would try a set of 17s. When I moved to the Hoosier on the 18, the sidewall was just way too thin, and I could really feel that the car just didn't kind of have that bite.
Right.
So I got a set of 17-inch Titans and put on the same size Hoosier, just with a bigger sidewall, and I felt a pretty massive difference in how the car kind of pulled out of turns, and that sidewall really made an improvement. So now I just switch back and forth between the 17s, and depending on what event determines whether it gets the doo-doo tires or the sticker tires.
How do you like the Nankangs?
Nankangs were great. I ran probably like at least 6 sets of Nankings. Super solid tire. My first tire that I ran on this car for my first track day was a AAA-R. And I didn't know what I was doing, and so for me at the time it was perfect. But the Nankings, the AR ones had just come out, and everyone was like, "This is the tire to get," and I got it, and I instantly fell in love with them. They were quite a bit better than the AAA-Rs, and so I stayed with those for a long time. And then one day I decided to try a Hoosier, which is just a terrible decision, because once you try it, you can't
life
get back.
changing.
And now all my lunch money goes to whoever owns Hoosier. Continental, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. I see that you have a number 13. Does that have any meaning to you?
Growing up, my number was 13.
Okay.
I like the number 13 because it's the unlucky number.
Yeah.
And I don't know if luck is something I believe in or not. I think, we all kind of get what we get depending on our effort level. And so put 13 on the car to show that I'm not scared of your luck.
There you go. What does sub 2 mean to you?
Sub 2 to me is special because when I first got into tracking, that's the goal, and without goals, sport's not quite as fun for me. I think that could carry over into life too. So being sub 2 and being in a sub 2 club, that's your first major stepping stone into the Fast Boys Club or whatever you want to call it. And, even though that was quite a ways back for me, it's still, it's that good motivation for when you start. Kind of gives you some direction, and I think it's cool. It's something fun to, I guess, brag about when no one else cares, but it's all good.
Well, we have a sub 150 sticker, so I'm
coming for it. I want it. So the goal is to get this car sub 150 with the small tire and no aero.
Wow.
Once I get the S54 in here, it's I'll start going doing practice days and trying to get that sub 150 for this car in its current condition.
For sure. Last question is, what things about life do you learn through cars?
Ooh, okay. Try not to get too philosophical here, but so I think that if you put in the effort and you show up prepared, I think you're able to achieve quite a bit. And so, things for me is before I go out to an event, whether it's time attack or wheel to wheel, I'll spend a ton of time studying the track. Basically knowing every single shift, every single breaking point, what am I going to do in this situation, or what am I going to do in that situation? And when I put that level of mental effort into an event, you show up and you can succeed. Okay. So I think if you do the same thing with whether it's school or your work or relationships, anything in life, put some thought into it and you show up and you give your best effort and maybe take a few calculated risks, you can achieve what you want.
That's awesome. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Keep in mind this is a track car, and look how incredibly clean this thing is. Thank you so much for showing your car, Billy.
For sure.
Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
Get on track, have some fun.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.